everybody. We're here this evening for the 50th anniversary commemoration of the sinking of the Great Lakes freighter named the Edmund Fitzgerald. This image is the map of the Great Lakes. So welcome to the commemoration. My name is Karen Overly Smith, and my husband Chris and I appreciate your interest and participation in this community activity. This evening includes invited residents of the Messiah Village neighborhoods and friends from our greater community. Our presentation will include some history of the sinking of the Great Lake freighter Edmund Fitzgerald, and then we have 45 minutes with Kent and Susan Hale-Courtney from Hanover, Pennsylvania, singing sea shanties. Background on Ken: he's a Vietnam-era Navy vet, and he's done things like evacuate military people to safety. He's the real deal Navy seaman, and he's been featured on Jay Leno. Hey, who remembers that? Jay Leno, woo! Back in our day, and Good Morning America. After the performance, you can enjoy a movie of the Edmund Fitzgerald mystery. So as the 50th anniversary of the Edmund Fitzgerald sinking approaches, it's Monday, November 10th. People across the Great Lakes region will gather to commemorate this occasion and remember the 29 men lost to Lake Superior on a stormy November night in 1975. In Ohio, the home state of nearly half of the Fitzgerald victims, the National Museum of the Great Lakes in Toledo will host a series of events over this weekend from the 7th to the 10th for the 50th anniversary. In the decades since the tragedy, the wreck has became a Great Lakes legend immortalized by Gordon Lightfoot's iconic 1976 song, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. So here's what we want to know about the 50th anniversary. The Edmund Fitzgerald again sank November 10th, 1975, not far from Whitefish Point during a fierce November storm on Lake Superior. The wreck claimed the lives of all 29 members. The Edmund Fitzgerald was a 729-foot-long ship launched in River Rouge, Michigan in 1958, according to the Shipwreck Museum. The vessel transported bulk cargo throughout the Great Lakes region. It was hauling taconite pellets to Zug Island when it sank. As some of you know, I have an interest in ships sailing in the Great Lakes waterways and in actual work of people on the ship. And now a little bit about sea shanties, which we're going to hear this evening. It's a genre of traditional folk songs that was once commonly sung as a work song to accompany rhythmic labor aboard large merchant sailing vessels. The term shanty most accurately refers to a specific style of work song belonging to this historical repertoire. However, in recent usage, the scope and definition sometimes is expanded to packet ships carried cargo and passengers on fixed schedules across the globe. Packet ships were larger and yet sailed with fewer crew than vessels of earlier eras, in addition to the fact that they were expected to show up on strict schedules. This requirement is called for an efficient and a disciplined use of human labor. American vessels especially gained reputations for cruelty as the officers demanded high results from their crew. The shanties of the 19th century could be characterized as a sort of new technology adopted by the sailors to adapt to this way of shipboard life. Between 1838 and 1847, no less than 21 mail-carrying ships were lost in the North Atlantic route, 2 each year on average. 2 of the ships were Falmouth packets and 2 were steamers, while 17 were American sailing packets. They called these packet ships because they carried the mail. 8 were on the New York-Liverpool route, 2 were on the Boston-Liverpool route, and 2 were on New York-London route, and 5 on the New York-Havre route. 6 of the ships just disappeared, and all were lost on board. It's notable that 2 out of every 3 wrecks took place in November to February at that time, indicating that the captains took too heavy of risks, especially during rough winter sailings. The only precautionary measure to ensure solid business information transmission across the Atlantic was to send duplicate ships. It was very typical during this period. The duplicates also ensured the fastest possible dispatch of information.
My way of delivering this song, but I think it actually makes sense. One of the many things that we got a chance to watch was the Gordon Lightfoot was talking about his own song. He was actually an interview on Canadian television, and he was talking about, I wrote it right away, I put it right out, and then he said, of course, a couple of facts weren't quite right because I only had a little bit of the newspaper article to work with. But it is amazing. I did 90 days of mess cooking, and the mess cook runs everything. You're a sailor, right? Who's in charge of the ship? The captain thinks he does, but the mess cooks run everything. If I make really good coffee for you, I'm going to be your best friend forever. And when I cleaned the urns, in fact, one of the first assignments I had as a cook was to clean the urns. And I cleaned them up spotless. I mean, they were really nice. And I added a little bit of vanilla extract to the top and made 50 cups of coffee for the crew, right? They couldn't believe the deliciousness of the coffee. The urns, I mean, I probably could took off, I can't tell you how much resin it was on the side of those urns. Like maybe, this was a ship built in 1944. Let's put it that way. A lot of mess on the inside of those. So when I cleaned them, they tasted really good. And I had a chief cook tell me, hey, you have a cross-grade to be a cook, you'd be really good at this. And I declined. But I loved hearing about the cooks on board the Fitzgerald. That's one of those things you never realize. They're the communicators of the ship, especially if you hear the words of the song. Legend lives on from the Chippewa down the big lake they call Hitchcock. Lake in its head never gives up her dead. In the skies of November and blue. Ship was the pride of the American side, coming back from Sunville in Wisconsin. As the big pagans go, she was bigger than most. The crew and good captain well seasoned, including some terms with a couple of steel firms. When she left fully loaded, quickly running, full load of iron ore that's 26,000 unsold, and the Edmund Fitzgerald lay empty. Sound, the wave broke over the railing, and every man knew, as the captain did too, was a witch of November from sailing. The dawn came late and the breakfast had been made, as the gales November came slashing. By afternoon it was freezing rain, in the race of a hurricane west wind. Summertime came, the old cook came on deck. He said, fellas, it's too rough to feed you. At 7 p.m. the main hatchway caved in. He said, fellas, it's been good to know ya. The captain wired in, he had water coming in, and the good ship and crew were in peril. Then later that night, when his lights went out of sight, the wreck of the Edmund Does anyone know where the love of God goes? Turn the minutes to hours. The searchers all say they have made Whitefish Bay. They put 15 more miles behind her. Hey, my head is split up. Hey, my head capsized. Hey, hey, I broke deep into water. And all that remains are the faces and the names of the wives and the sons and the daughters. Make her own rules, superior things in the rooms of her Whitewater mansion. Michigan seems like a young and streams, the islands and bays off of Sportsburg, and Bobby the Low Lake Ontario, lakes in Port Lake, Erie and Center. As the islands on the days of November, remember, in a musty old hall in Detroit they prayed, in the maritime sailors' cathedral. The church bell chimed till it rang 29 times for each man on the Edmund Fitzgerald. Said never gives up her dead on the skies of November.